Oh, we're live. We're live on YouTube. This is interesting. It's telling me how many people are online. Okay, how many people like it, and then there's a number with a dollar sign on it.
Oh, you can get
People can give you
Yeah.
award you things as you're doing
Look
it.
at that! Wow. Okay. Everybody, just donate. Just find the
You got the finger down right.
Yeah, just donate. Whatever. Subscribe to the channel, but that's not donating, right?
No.
There's
All money goes directly to your bank.
all money goes to, I don't know, somewhere. I do have a link somewhere, supporting the
You
podcast,
should put it as
the
a
Finding
caption.
Holiness podcast. Okay, this is unofficially the final class of the series of Living La Vida Shalom. This is number 6.
What a name.
Right? It's number 5 or 6? 6. This is the last one. According to Isaac, who's not here. Isaac, we miss you. But he said it's the last one. But he said he wants to restart
After the summer.
after, I don't know, sometime with some new topics. By all means, we'll make it happen. So I said, okay, what should we do? Should we do free for all, or should we talk about something? So he told me, he goes, why don't we talk about communication?
There's a lot to say for someone who's not here.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. He has a lot to say. So I go, why don't we talk about communication, and then we can do, if you want, you can do free for all. I'm like, okay, I'll do communication. So I found the following, I guess, words of wisdom by Rabbi Morgenstern, Shlita, and I want to share it with you tonight as we talk about communication. I repeat again, I'm just a messenger, right? I'm learning just as much as you are, and I am not an expert in everything that I'm going to say. I try. Sometimes I pass. Sometimes I fail. Especially when it comes to communication. I as much as I public speak now in my position as rabbi in different capacities, but I happen to be a quiet type of person who likes not to speak out at meetings. I'm like, I'll wait till everybody else talks, and if I need to talk, I'll talk. And I was always that type of. I was always, even till today. I don't communicate much, and maybe sometimes I need to communicate more, especially when it comes with our spouses, because that's what we're going to talk about. So again, I speak for myself. Whatever I'm saying, I speak also to me, and to all the listeners, and to all the people here. So thank you for coming. Marriage is obviously is one of the most important areas of our lives that we require really good and constant communication, proper speech. We want to create this kesher, this bond between husband and wife, a kesher pnimi, an inner bond that gives us a simcha, it gives us happiness, simchat chaim. And you require the right tools to accomplish that. And one of the tools is good, proper communication. If not all shalom bayit problems that occur in homes is because there exists a communication problem as well. That is fact. And the fact that you look at not just Jewish books, if you look at Amazon and you see that family communication books are the best sellers, obviously because people are reading it, because people have struggled with it, and people want to learn about it and want to talk about it, and not necessarily because their marriage is in jeopardy or their marriage is on the rocks, but because they want to improve. And therefore, when a couple is able to communicate effectively, then they're usually able to solve all differences themselves. So what is communication? How do we define communication? Communication from a Torah perspective differs very much from what the non-Jewish perspective is. A common misconception is that if a person cannot say what he feels, or if a person cannot say what he means or mean what he says, then he's lacking communication. So, for example, if I think that my wife is lazy, or if I think that my wife is clumsy, or if I think my wife did something stupid, and I cannot tell her that, or him that, then it must be I cannot communicate properly. That is not improper communication, simply because that's something that the Torah doesn't allow, period. That is what we call ona'at dvarim. It's hurting another person's feelings with words. So, and that will initiate an argument with a couple almost instantaneously. So it's obviously that's not the communication that is conducive for Shalom Bayit. So what is proper communication? Proper communication is the ability to express oneself and be understood without hurting the other person's feelings. B, to discuss issues and differences with your spouse and arrive at conclusions or compromise. It's a big word. We spoke about compromise in the past, without developing into some sort of argument or quarrel. C, to share experiences or to share dreams, to share problems. Yeah, sharing problems is part of communication. And probably D is listening to each other's words, listening to your spouse so that he or she feels valued and feels understood. Anytime you have a couple that can pretty much follow those four things, will set forth some sort of chain reaction in that there will be a positive relationship and they will build towards mutual understanding of each other. Because when you have that understanding, then both the husband and wife are happy. And that happiness and that contentment and that joy brings closeness, brings shalom, and strengthens the kesher, strengthens that kesher pnimi. So how do we develop that? How do we develop that communication? The first step is to commit to actually talking to each other. The Chazon Ish terms this as ribui sicha, a lot of speech. Now you're going to tell me al tarbeh sicha im harishta. Don't have too much conversation with your wife. Beishto amru, that's what Pirkei Avot says. But we're not going to get into that. But ribui sicha, you have to have conversations. So, but that requires training. You want to teach a kid to swim, or you want to teach somebody to drive. You need training. You need practice. The more that a husband and wife converse with each other, the more they will perfect their communication skills. And that's why the concept in the religious Jewish world of Shana Rishona, you probably heard that term before, Shana Rishona, the first year of marriage, is so important because that's when they work on building their relationship through many aspects and facets, and one of them being communication. Why this first year? Because the first year of a marriage, a husband and wife are free of pressures. They're free of most responsibilities. They're free of supporting a large family. And therefore, they're advised to spend some time during the day, whether it's over a meal or over a walk or at a restaurant, engaged in social conversation with one another. This time that they're going to be performing ribui sicha, a lot of conversation, needs to be done without any interruptions. So that's hard nowadays. That's hard with our phones and our vibrations and our notifications, and especially if you have children, it's hard to do. So when you remove the distractions, the time for conversing becomes quality time. It becomes good time. It's relaxed. It's focused. It's concentrating. That can be done when you're going on a walk. That can be done when you're going out for dinner. As long as you're talking, and you're alone, and you're being social, and it's not about business matters, and it's not about who's paying the bills or how we're going to pay for the next car payment, then it's good. Now this Shana Rishona, this first year is not a fixed time. Rabbi said 1 year starts today, the day we get married, okay, and we're going to end this. We're going to end all communication after 1 year, right? No, that's not what we mean. It's a stage. It's a situation that every couple has to achieve in their relationship, and sometimes that extends further than a year. And if after 2, 3, 4 years of marriage, a husband and wife have still not had their Shana Rishona, have still not had their first year of communication, then you got to start. There's no escaping it. There's no mutual trust between a husband and wife if they don't have that, and if they haven't achieved the goals of what we want to achieve in the first year of marriage. One of the roadblocks that a husband and wife might encounter is, which is also detrimental to a marriage relationship, is the daily routine, the monotony of daily routine. That we wake up in the morning, we do what we need to do. I have my coffee. It's like it's a set schedule, which is good for so many reasons, but not good when you're trying to build communication with your spouse. You have your spouse. You're sharing the same space. You're sharing the same responsibilities, and most of the time that routine leads to conversations, like I said, of managing finances and, okay, how are we going to divide the chores? Who's going to take out the garbage? Who's going to clean the dishes? Who's going to put the dishes away? Who's going to pick up the groceries? Who's going to order the groceries on the app, right? And all this stuff is great, and it's important because it has to be done, and you got to divide up those chores. But let's face it, man and woman, husband and wife, we tend to operate on different schedules. He has his job, she has her job. And therefore, if that's the way it's going to work, then when are you going to actually have real quality time to speak to one another? If there's second jobs involved and you're working late hours, so what ends up happening is that instead of growing closer through the communication, there's lack of communication, and then the husband and wife seem to drift apart. There was many years ago a newspaper article published a report that an average couple spends only 11 minutes a day talking to each other. 11 minutes a day. Again, we're not talking about like, don't forget to put in the food in the oven, or, but actual conversation, quality conversation, 11 minutes a day. And more recently, there was a book, that was a while back, there was a book on family communication that lowered that figure to not 11 minutes a day, but just about 30 minutes a week, right? 30 minutes a week. So when you're only having 30 minutes of good conversation with your wife or with your husband a week, how do you expect to live in harmony? How do you expect to, have a solid relationship when you can't learn to communicate properly one another? That's why it's very important. Like I said, we're newlyweds. Or again, even if you haven't done this as a newlywed and you're well into your marriage years, to set aside quality time during your Shana Rishona to make it part of your daily routine. And again, if you find it difficult in your first year, or you weren't successful, then work out a schedule to make an artificial Shana Rishona, in order to at least get the ball rolling, at least to start off learning on how to properly communicate. So you're going to ask, and it's a good question, you're going to say, Rabbi, how do I do it? I don't have the time. Where am I going to have the time? I'm trying to, pay the mortgage, trying to pay the food costs, put food on the table. It's very difficult. I got to watch my Leaf game, right? There's certain things, like you can't just give up, okay? So we have such busy schedules. How am I supposed to do this? We're going to need 26 hours a day to figure this out. The answer is, so the more concern is motivation. If someone was to offer a couple $100 per day for each half hour that they would spend talking to each other, okay, I'm sure you're going to find the time to come up with 30 minutes a day. I think everyone would agree. So you have to motivate yourself to do the impossible, what you think is impossible. And it's weird because sometimes, even during our hectic schedules, and even during our busy lives, we somehow find time to squeeze in things that are important to us. So you might have a wife or a stay-at-home mom who is involved in household chores, and she barely has time to make for her husband, and all of a sudden, she gets a phone call or even a visit from a friend that she hasn't seen in years, surprise visit. So then what happens? Everything stops, right? You probably even leave your kids on the side. I gotta go with my friend. I haven't seen her in 5 years. I haven't seen her in 10 years, and you're catching up. So the housewife is so excited for this that she puts everything on hold to be with her friend, to enjoy a relaxing conversation with her friend. Now imagine if this high school friend was her husband. Do you think she have the time? Imagine the husband came home from work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 5 or 6. Right? Surprise! I'm here for an hour. Right? What's the wife gonna say? What are you doing here? I don't get it. Why are you here? Do you know I'm busy? I got stuff to do. Go back to work. Right? So with some power, with some willpower, and with some motivation, you can get it done. You can realize the importance of spending quality time together, to make it part of to make a priority. Sometimes couples have reached the compatibility stage, what he calls the compatibility stage, where they feel, okay, I'm already past social conversation. Social conversation is for dating, okay? Or maybe the beginning of marriage. But now that I'm married 5-10 years, why do I need to have social conversation? That's a big mistake, because then things become stale. Things become boring. There's no excitement left in the marriage. There's no energy in the marriage. So you need to find ways to keep that going. Now, so once you've solved that problem, you realize you're in Shana Rishona, or after Shana Rishona, you're having good conversation. There are 4 basic communication skills that he brings down. What, when, and 2 hows. That's what he says. What, when, and 2 hows. So number 1, what, is what to talk about. Again, this is assuming you found time daily to have conversation. And I know we're all busy, but we've solved that problem. Number 1 is what to talk about. So every husband and wife need to know which topics and which subjects of interest actually are appealing to their spouse, and which one they dislike. So by extensive conversation, you learn that. In the beginning of your marriage, or even when you're dating, you know what she likes, and you know what he likes. You will learn whether maybe my wife likes politics, maybe she likes sciences, maybe she likes relationships or child raising. Even if on Shabbat you want to talk a little bit about the parasha, that might spur a conversation. Review some halachot. Now, if you're a guy, okay, you have to understand your wife is not your chavruta in yeshiva. Okay, so that means when you're sharing a Dvar Torah on the table, you're not going, you know what I learned today? The Rambam says this, and the Tosfot says this, and your wife's looking at you like, what's going on? Now you're loving it because this was a big chidush to you, okay? But what is it doing to your wife? Your wife is just waiting for you to finish so she can move on to the next topic, right? So that is a challenge. And you can only succeed through trial and error. Yeah, sometimes I'm going to bring this up to my wife, and sometimes I bring a conversation to my wife, and I see she's totally not interested. I go, okay, yeah, okay. Like, you get that, like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, well, clearly she's not interested. You want to talk about sports, and she doesn't like sports. So why are you bringing up sports? Bring up sports with your friends, the guys that watch the hockey games or the baseball games. That's when you can talk about that. So it's very unfortunate that sometimes after years of marriage, couples say, well, I have nothing to talk about with my wife. I have nothing to talk about with my husband because we can't find mutual things that we like to talk about. So one of the first things that really a couple should speak about on dates before they're married is, what do you like to talk about? Like, what are mutual topics that we can speak? Now, with that said, let's say let's say your wife comes to the table and she's like, Ruben, oh my goodness, I went to the mall today and I saw this dress, right? I think it looks so good. Now, you know that you just don't care. You just okay, you know, we're gonna talk about that, the difference between men and women, right? I don't care about clothing, I don't care about art, I don't care about any of that stuff. Now, you could just cut it off, but that won't be respectful, because again, that's showing your wife that
You don't care.
you don't care about her, about what she likes. So therefore, you got to make an effort to show an interest. That doesn't mean you have to spend an hour and a half talking about the dress that you saw on display in the window, okay? But you gotta make a little bit of effort. Oh, how did it look? Okay, was it a good deal? Was it expensive? Do you think of it? When you think you'll wear it? And then okay, but at least you're showing her that you have some interest. Another suggestion that he gives to people who have difficulty, again, finding mutual things to talk about, is to discuss past experiences. For example, take out some photo albums. I know that doesn't exist today. Photo albums, like what? What's a photo album, right? I make photo albums still. I haven't made it in the last couple of years, but photo albums I think is really good.
One yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You know, and I think there's a big difference when sitting with a book and taking out your gallery and your phone and going like this.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and you take a book and say, "Oh, remember that time?" And you'll know it from firsthand experience. My kids are older; they still enjoy it. Once in a while, one of my kids will take out a photo album of a trip that we did 8 years ago, and you see the pictures when they're young, and it really is like family bonding time. Like they really, you know, we talk about, we laugh. Remember when? And it brings back memories. So a husband and wife can do the same when they can make their own books, or relive some sort of experience that they had. I remember we went to the Blue Jays game and we had that hot dog and I don't know, and it tasted so bad and like whatever. I don't know. I'm making up stuff now, right? So these are things that you can do. Find a topic of interest. Maybe that's on the radio. Maybe you want to listen to them on the radio. Maybe you want to listen to a podcast. There's so many podcasts out there now. I'm not plugging in my own podcast. There's you know, I was driving in over here today. Okay, maybe I'm plugging in my own podcast. All right, my podcast is called Finding Holiness. A different shiurim, but not everybody wants to listen to a shiur all the time. There is a podcast I heard driving to shul. It was the ad for the podcast. I didn't hear the podcast. It was called Bad Parenting or Bad Parents. All right, I'm assuming that they're talking about bad parenting methods. That might be something that young couples or couples with young children might want to listen to on maybe experiences that other people went through, you know, that didn't work for them and they're sharing. Again, I didn't hear what the podcast is. I didn't hear any episodes, but that might be something, you know. Once, you know, I told my wife I was watching a TV show that I thought she would love. And I said, I gotta watch the show. Gotta watch the show. My wife does not like television at all. She does not like television. She doesn't like movies. Nothing. But I convinced her. I convinced her, and we ended up watching the series, right? It was The Office. That's what it was.
You never watch a movie yet?
No. I don't think it was movie. I think it's very funny.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Anyways, for whatever reason, I felt that she would enjoy it, and she did enjoy it, and that became like we didn't watch it nightly because again, that was actually asking too much, but it took us quite some time.
It's a long time.
But we did finish it, you know. So now everybody online knows that I've watched The Office, but it's okay. Dreams, fantasies about what your future is going to look like, you know. If you had an all expense paid vacation, where would you want to go? Right, it's a good question. You know, so these are things that, you know, one day I would love to go to Hawaii. I would love to go see the volcanoes. I would love to, I don't know, just talking about things that, you know, that can spur a conversation. So try to find time during the week for this stuff. And yes, I will say, because this is a Torah-based class, to try to find time to speak about Torah. Yeah, to reviewing halachot of Shabbat or Taharat Mishpacha is good conversation. You know, or the weekly parsha on the Shabbat table. Now we're in the months of Pirkei Avot, where our little kids are singing Pirkei Avot, and it's beautiful. And just take one Mishnah, and talk about it. Al tifros min hatzibur. Don't separate yourself from the community. What does that mean? What do you think that means? Right? These are great discussion questions that you can have, and then with your kids as well. It opens up new worlds of conversation. The Chazon Ish was always known to say that always tell your spouse when you're leaving, where you're going, and when you come back, or where you have been, because that's not out of trust, but only because it's sharing experiences, it's sharing my day, right? I want to share with you my day. Okay, so that was the what. The when to discuss matters and issues. So timing is a very important factor when developing communication. Let's face it and be blunt, there are times when a husband and wife might not be in the mood for a conversation, or a criticism, or a correction. And right now, I just need my space, okay? I just need space. I don't want to be left alone. And I need to unwind from the day. It was a long day. So let's say the wife is not up to having a conversation with the husband, but the husband is insisting on having the conversation. What's going to happen? She's not going to be responsive. She's going to be very reserved. And now the husband thinks, she's not interested, and she's upset. And then he might reply angrily or irritably at her. And then she's going to send her a message, and then she's going to say, I told you to stop bothering me now, I'm not interested, and that only creates friction between the spouses. There are also times of pressure in life. There are times of tension when a person's mind is not focused on conversation and communication. One good example of this is Friday afternoon, right? Mm-hmm. Friday afternoon is not the time to sit down and have a conversation, even if something is bothering you.
Actually, natural phenomenon.
Even if you had a bad day at work and you just want to vent and you want your husband to listen to it, or you want your wife to listen to you because your boss rubbed you the wrong way. Friday afternoon is a time when the family is trying to finish Shabbat preparations, and that's not a good time to do it. Or when you're preparing for your work day, the start of your work day, or when you're rushing to get to a simcha, and that's not good times to have conversations.
Oh, I love when you ask me stuff when I'm getting ready.
Now, with that said, like I mentioned, Shabbat is a good time to have a conversation. And once the preparations are done and you're sitting at the table, then it's a great time to have a conversation. But it shouldn't be limited to once a week. Timing is also important when a husband or wife have a special request. So the wife wants to buy a nice dress, that dress that she saw in the mall, or the husband says, hey, why don't we go on vacation, or why don't we go on a little trip, or to a place that she may not enjoy. So you need patience. You need patience to find the right time when your spouse is going to listen to you, because a simple conversation, could easily be ruined when there's a request that is in the wrong time that could lead to an argument. So that's the when. We did the what, we did the when. Now, two hows. Number one is how to talk. How to talk. You have to learn his language, and he has to learn her language. That's one of the most difficult adjustments in any marriage. So you have to, in order to be successful in this, men and women have to realize that they were created differently. Simple as that. Each have their own dominant trait. What is that trait? Women, their dominance is emotions, and men, their dominance is logic. Again, women, it's emotion, and men, it's logic. And therefore, being that they have two different traits, they differ in their manner of thinking and their relationships with others. Women are going to talk from emotions, men are going to talk from logic. Women's brains are wired differently for emotional sensitivity, and men as way in their way with regards to logic. For example, a man has no problem buying his wife some flowers, okay? But it's very difficult for him to write a note with those flowers, right? Because writing the note requires emotion, requires feeling. That is more difficult than the front. I'm not saying no men do this, okay? But yeah, I got my wife upset. Logic tells me I gotta buy her flowers, okay? Or it's Shabbat, so logic says I'm gonna buy flowers. But the emotional part is tough. Writing a note there.
The emotion's in the flowers.
Yeah.
I don't think she's gonna buy that one. I think she wants you to know as well. A woman will enjoy talking about sharing feelings, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, sharing dreams. It's her way of expressing those emotions. It could be just her way to get away from the real world. It's a way to relax, to build a relationship. And men, on the other hand, they're just focused on solutions. Tachlis, what needs to be done? For example, he gives a great example. Wife comes home and she's complaining to her husband that, my job, so difficult, so taxing. I don't know if I can take it anymore. The long hours, the people that are over there, they rub me the wrong way. And what does she want? She wants a husband to listen to her, to support her. But really say to her,
You don't have to work anymore, don't worry.
No, that's not happen, right? That's what
we
no,
want.
that's the husband is going to respond. Well, if it's really so difficult, then why don't you quit, right?
Oh, we need money.
But you're looking for more support and compassion. The woman is looking. She just wants to express her feelings, wants to express her emotion. She probably didn't have intent of quitting her job. She just had a bad day. He just had a bad day. Husband's like, you had a bad day? Go quit. Find another job. Because logic tells him, if you're not happy, you got to move. And when she's not getting from the husband what she wants to get from him, they both become frustrated. The reverse is also true. Which means that just like the husband has to learn how to speak with emotion and find the emotion, because that's not his natural trait, the woman has to learn as well to speak from logic and not always from her emotion. So he brings a brilliant example. We're going to read very soon, in a few weeks' time, we're going to read the story of Korach. Korach was Moshe Rabbeinu's first cousin, and he rebelled against Moshe. He was jealous of the leadership of his cousin, but he understood that, okay, Moshe kind of got it, I get it, no problem. He didn't understand why other cousins of his had positions of power, and he got nothing. And he had a very good point, a very valid point. So he staged this rebellion, 250 people, and they joined they joined against Moshe. And the end of the story of Korach is that they lost and they got swallowed in the ground, and we never hear from them again. Now there's one man in this story who is mentioned right at the beginning, in the introduction of the story. His name is On ben Pelet, from the tribe of Reuven. On, the son of Pelet. The Torah introduced him. His name is there. But as the story goes on, you don't hear from him anymore. Like Korach dies with his 250 guys, and there's a plague going on afterwards for something else. But On ben Pelet has nowhere to go. So the Gemara addresses. The Gemara says, what happened to On ben Pelet? So On ben Pelet was convinced by his wife to back out of the rebellion. And what she said was that when she heard that her husband was going to join Korach, she said, listen, the winners of this dispute in the end is going to be either Moshe or Korach. One of the two is going to win. What are you going to end up with? Like, what is your end game here? So why get involved? You're still going to be second to the winner. So if you're not going to win, why are you starting this balagan? She used logic She used logic to pull him out. Masha Enken, by the way, Korach's wife, the Gemara tells us, was the one egging him on. Yeah, go, push. Who gives him the right? Now, what would have happened if On Ben Pellet's wife used emotion when trying to convince him out? What if she would have came and said, are you crazy? How dare you think that you're going to beat Moshe? Right? You're nuts. Right? As a man with his dignity, he's going to say, oh yeah? I'm going to show you that I can beat Moshe. And he's going to go on and he's going to lose, he's going to die. But she used logic to pull him out. And that was against her nature. Because women don't normally use logic when they speak out of emotion. I know that sounded derogatory, but I didn't mean it that way, because women sometimes do use logic, and they are, but men are more logical. So On Ben Pellet, Mrs. On Ben Pellet, she was smarter than that. She talks his language with a convincing argument. Think about it. You come back from a vacation, and you and your spouse, and everyone asks you, how was your vacation? So what does he answer from the husband and the wife? Husband says, oh, it was amazing. You had to see the hotel we got. Spa, pool, this. I rented a car, sunroof, this, gadgets. Wife, oh, the weather, the relaxing, the breeze. It's really two different ways of thinking. It's a dominance factor is different between the man and the woman. So therefore, if you want to share your conversations together, you have to learn how to discuss topics, stories, and experiences that are on the same wavelength. He also says that learning how to express yourself in a way that your spouse understands you. Sometimes your spouse is going to send you a cryptic message, right? And based on your response, might trigger him or her the wrong way. So, wife sends husband a message. There's a nice pair of shoes on sale at Brown's. Period. That's it.
Cool.
Right? So what do you say? Cool. Or worse, do whatever you want. Right? Do whatever you want. I know some of you might say, okay, I'll take that as, right? But something like that. Do whatever you want. So she's going to say, you don't pay attention to my message. I told you that these shoes are on sale. Your response is going to be, well, you didn't ask for them. I would have told you that. Well, I said do whatever you want. That's not what I was looking for. I wanted more assurance that it's okay. But why do you need shoes for? I need shoes. My things are getting worn out. Well, I have a suit that's getting worn out. I'm not asking you if I should go buy a suit. This is how quarreling and arguments start. Husband wants to go to parents' house for dinner, and he's not sure if the wife's going to agree. And he hints by saying, I haven't been to my parents in a while for Shabbat. And she's like, okay, I haven't been to my parents for a while also for Shabbat. You don't see me running over there, And the husband feels hurt. My wife, she's not sensitive. She says, no, I love my parents. I want to go to my parents' house, So these things, you have to figure out the cryptic messages, the hidden messages. What does your wife really want when she says there's a pair of shoes on sale? Maybe a proper response is, I'd love to get them for you. Let's just wait till beginning of the month when I get some money in, and then we can look for them. Or I don't know, something like that, if now is not the right time. So figure out the hidden messages. Learn each other's sensitivity levels. A husband cannot talk to his wife in the same manner that he talks to his friends. And the wife cannot talk to her husband in the same manner that she talks to her friends, because that will cause friction. Obviously, you don't want to respond with, what's wrong with you? That's so stupid. What a stupid mistake. Stop talking bobadillas. Bobadillas translation, nonsense, for those listening. Sarcastically, oh, great job you did over there, right? Besides for disrupting Shalom Bayit, again, these type of comments might be included in Onat Devarim, which we said is hurtful words towards someone else. And the second how is how to listen. Arguably the most important one, which is listening to your spouse while he or she is speaking, but listening in a manner that shows your spouse that you are actually listening, not scrolling the phone or reading a book or watching the game. If that's the case, then she's just talking to a wall, and you're not really there. You're not really present. One of the things we do in school amongst teachers is we have this every other week. We have this parnasut, where one of the teachers shares something that's on their mind, something that's bothering them. It doesn't have to be about school. It could be about family life. It's a very vulnerable conversation where the teacher opens up, and we do. It's really, really good. It's amongst the mechanech teachers. That's not.
I didn't get invited.
And anyways, so what it is like someone just gets up and starts talking, and the idea is that they share their problem, and you don't jump to giving advice because everyone wants to give advice. Oh, this is what you should do. That's the last step. Before you give advice, you must ask clarifying questions. And the purpose of doing so is because that shows that you're listening. What did you mean when you said this? How are you feeling when that happened? Clarifying questions to really get a foothold of what that person, then you start feeling them. But that's active listening. And only then, once you get the whole picture, now I suggest that maybe you could do this or try this. I've done this and this works. Okay? But if your responses is just not there, not present, even sometimes it's just minimal things. Nodding your head. Yeah, I hear you. I understand. Then that's a good sign. If a husband feels that his wife is conversing with other people more than himself, that could be because she feels more comfortable talking to other people than her husband, or vice versa, and that's not good. So we did a lot today. We're already past 40 minutes, but I think this is just some really important ideas and basic ideas that we can start off. Food for thought. I think we're all in a way in our Shana Rishona, even though some of us are past that. But we can always look back and say, okay, I don't mind starting a Shana Rishona again right now, even though I've been married 3-4 years, whatever it is, and trying to build on my communication. It's really important. And Bezrat Hashem, when you're determined to develop that skill with each other, set aside proper time, know how to listen, know what to say, know when to say it, then you will be on certainly a path of a happier marriage, more enriched marriage, where communication plays center focus in all that. So thank you very much, everyone. All right, should we pause? I guess now. Do I exit? Oh, here we go.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.